Hey everybody, I am Dina. I'm the program coordinator over here at Adventure Seekers. I'm so excited that you guys are doing the Camp in a Box experience. And today's video is going to be about how to create this camp journal, which is really cool. Here's one that's already completed and it's got the pages all in there. And I'll show you guys how to stitch it up and how to get it looking cool like this one. So first step, these directions are a little bit different for the journal that we have. So I'll be guiding you through these, but I'll also be telling you which parts don't apply to the model that we have here. So first things first, you want to grab something like a straight pin or safety pin will do the trick, a toothpick, mechanical pencil, whatever you have around. This is going to be a necessary component for us to be able to make it a little bit easier for you guys. So take out your string that looks like this. And what I'd also like you to get, if you have it around, is a piece of Scotch tape. It could also be masking tape. That will work as well. And that's just to make this string a little bit stiffer so that it's easier to thread. So what I'm doing is just kind of wrapping this around here. Sorry, you'll notice. I'm just wrapping it around the end so that it's a little more firm. And it takes a little bit of working with it to get it to work right. And you just kind of keep going around. And so that it's kind of like you're making the end of a shoelace. You know how a shoelace is easier to thread because it has that plastic on the end of it. We're just creating that on our own. Masking tape works well too. So that's going to be kind of like your threading needle there. So first thing you want to do is take your straight pin, toothpick, whatever you have. And if you notice, these machine holes need a little extra help to get punched all the way through. So grab your stack of paper and you can just kind of punch those through. Hold on just a sec. Make sure it's lined up first and then it makes it a little easier. There you go. You're just punching through. That way you'll be able to thread your twine much easier. I'm just gonna punch through all of these and then we'll get started with the actual stitching, which is the fun part. Now yours might not need this step. You'll just need to take a look at it and see. Like for instance, if you see here, these are all good to go. There's just one that needs to be punched through. So I'll do that. Whoops. And now we're all good. Okay, so first step. Lay out the cover of your book so that Camp Journal is right side up. And then you're going to make sure that your paper is stacked and you can see through those little holes. And you're going to line that up as best you can with the holes on the book. Okay? Then we're going to take our little threading needle here. And the first thing we're going to do, let me show you what it looks like on the inside so you see the finished product. We're getting ready to start right here. And I've got a little dot of hot glue there and I'll show you what that looks like. So we're basically going to thread through from the back, go through the book, then go through the stack of paper. I did that backwards, wait a minute. Okay, we're gonna go through the paper and then through the book. Bring it all the way through. Just keep pulling until you get close to the end. And then you're gonna tie a little double knot right here. So I hope you can see that. I just tied it once like that. I'm gonna pull it tight and then I'm gonna tie it one more time, trying to make sure that the second knot kind of falls right in line with the first knot so that you get a bigger knot at the end. All right, once I have that done, I'm gonna pull it all the way close and put a little dot of hot glue. You can also use Elmer's glue. The benefit of using, well, first of all, hot glue gun, make sure you have an adult helping with this. But the benefit of using the hot glue gun is that it's gonna dry much more quickly than your Elmer's glue, okay? Elmer's glue, you'll have to put it on and then wait. And if you have that time, that's fine. All right, so I'm gonna give that a second to dry and then I'm gonna show you our next step. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, that's starting to dry pretty good. So now I'm gonna turn this upside down and I'm gonna start to thread. So I put it through, whoops, through the book. And then I've got one more area that I realized I didn't punch, so I'm gonna go ahead and punch a hole through there to make it easier for myself to get it through. And then I'm gonna go through the pages. And this part, it's probably gonna be helpful to have an adult nearby to help you with. There we go, I got it right that time. Okay, once I've got it through both, I'm just gonna pull it tight. Okay, so it should look like that on that end. This should be drying, and it's gonna look like that when we're all finished. But once I'm done with this, I'm just gonna go down one. Same thing, you have to go through the paper, and then you go through the book. You pull it out on this side, and then you're gonna go back through. So this part starts to go pretty quickly after you get the hang of it. Just think of it this way. When you're on the inside, you should be going down. When you're on the outside of the book, your stitches should be going across. That makes it a little bit easier, I think. So I'm on the inside, I'm gonna go down all the way through both. And then I get to the outside and I'm gonna go across. And you're basically just gonna keep doing this all the way down the length of your journal. And it can be a little challenging to hold everything together. So like I said, that's where an extra pair of parental hands might come in handy. But you just take your time with it, keep working, make sure your stitches are pulled a little tight but not too tight. Now I'm on the inside, so I'm gonna go down. Get to the outside, I'm gonna go across. So here I found another one that wasn't, a couple more that weren't punched all the way through. So I'm gonna go ahead and punch those so my stitching can go a little more smoothly. There we go. You just keep stitching and stitching and stitching. There we go. Across again because we're at the back. Oops, I went in the wrong hole. Go straight across. Get my handy dandy pen again. Here we go. We're almost at the bottom. This is the part that takes the longest. And when we get to the front where we're actually ready to put the design together and actually create our camp scene, that part's gonna go a little bit more quickly. But this part's kind of cool because as opposed to just decorating the book. You actually get to construct your own book. Almost at the bottom here. Once again, we're on the inside, so we're always going to go down. And then this is going to be our last inside stitch before we hot glue. And this will be our last outside stitch. So we're going across because we're on the outside. All the way through the paper. And awesome. So you remember that double knot that you did at the top? We're going to do the same thing down here. Make sure you don't cut it first because it's easier to tie the knot when you have more string. So you're going to just try to push your knot down so that it's close to the paper. Don't let the knot end up way up here. You want it close to the paper. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just twisting it around, bringing it through, sliding that knot down so that it's right on top of the second one if I can. There you go. Once you have that, we're going to do another little blob of hot glue on there just to keep it in place. Again, if you're using Elmer's glue, that will work just fine too. You'll just need to step away from your project for a little bit to give that Elmer's glue time to dry. But once you've got that part done, I did not bring my scissors, but you're going to want to cut or have an adult cut if you don't have child scissors, child safe scissors. Just cut right there so then it looks just like this one. Okay, we're going to leave it right there for now. Let it dry a little bit, and then so you see these look identical. Next step is we're going to create this camp scene on the outside. So what I recommend and what I did with this one is I kind of put a weight on this side of it and just let it sit for a little while so it would fold better. But as we're waiting for that to dry, I want to point out something on here. Your instructions will say at step 3 that you're supposed to punch the letters out of blue foam and glue camp to the top of the book and journal to the bottom as shown. But our version of it already has camp journal printed out. So you're not going to have any letters. You don't need to look for those because they're not in there. They're already on here. Okay, so I think that's got enough time to dry there. So now we're going to fold it in half. And this is the part where I said you can put something on here to kind of weight it down a little bit. But one other thing I want to point out on the directions tell you to put your frame in place first and then put your picture inside the frame. What I recommend is just putting the top and the bottom of your frame in place, or really just the top of your frame in place, then the picture, and then building everything else around it. It just makes it a little bit easier so that you don't have to try to line these pieces up and fit them in there perfectly. So let's start with these top ones. You're going to grab 3 of your little kind of replica log cabin things here, one at a time, and just put a bead of glue, Elmer's or glue gun, all the way across. And then you're just going to kind of try to center it on the front of your book. Okay, and I'm just holding that in place for a little while to give the hot glue time to dry. And you can do this in stages as well. If you're finished with your stitching and you're like, okay, I want to take a break, like I said, put a little weight right here, a heavy book or something, and then you can come back and do the rest of it, especially if you're working with Elmer's and you need to give it time to dry. All right, that one's in place. I'm going to do 2 more just like that. And what you can do if you don't want to try to put it on here, you can just line it up right here. Let me get another stick. Line it up right there with your glue. And then just stick it in place. Kind of like building a log cabin. And then one more we're gonna do. And I just want to say one more time for safe measure, make sure you have an adult if you actually are going to use a hot glue, because we don't want you to get burned. All right, so there's your top. Now we're going to start building this cool little camp scene. So we're going to start with the bottom and make it so that the taller part of the hill is facing to your left. Actually, I'm going to put the bottom on and then we're going to put this in place. Let's do that. So we're going to do 3 more of these and do the same thing that we just did at the top. 1, centering that kind of right above the word journal, holding it in place for a little while. Okay, another bead of glue for our second log on the bottom part. Line this one up. And the third one. And then we're going to put the sides of the frame on last. All right, hold that in place for a little bit. Okay, and now we're gonna start building. So like I said, for your water, you want the higher part of the picture to be on your left-hand side, okay? And you can just put a little bit of glue along the edges. You can put some in the middle if you like, but mainly you wanna make sure the edges are gonna sit down properly. Try to center it. Again, press it down. And then these, the rest of these pieces, they just fit kind of like puzzle pieces. So we see that that fits better than that, so we know to put it this way, okay? Glue on the back. And line it up and press it down. The next thing we're looking for is this little green piece, and that one you're actually gonna have to punch out. So it comes out really easy. It's already pre-perforated for you. Okay, same thing. We're gonna figure out which way it lines up. I think that one looks a little bit better, so we're gonna do it that way, which means glue goes on the back right here. Turn it over, line it up. And the cool thing is that this foam, well, be careful not to get your nail prints on it like I'm doing, but this foam actually is very easy to manipulate. So you can just kind of push it into place like that. All right, and then this last piece, yeah, see, this one's a little bit, might have to make an adjustment. Yep, the foam will kind of push down in there. But again, let me give you a tip. So maybe just put the bottom 3 in and then build your scene and then put the top 3 on top so you don't run into this problem where it's a little bit tight right there, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get some glue. Put that one in place as well. And you could also trim that a little bit. If you had your scissors out and you found that, you know, it was a little bit close, you could just trim that top piece. But there's our foundation. Now all that's left to do is put on our log cabin, which is gonna go right here. But honestly, you could put it wherever you like on that green area. If you don't wanna do it exactly like the picture, you could have your log cabin right in the middle. That's okay too. Then we want to do our canoe, and same thing, it doesn't have to look like the picture. You can put your canoe wherever you want in the water. I'm going to put my canoe over here to the left side a little bit. Okay, last 2 steps that you want to do. It's going to be putting the outside of the frame in place, and then we're going to put our dark green trees and our light green tree on the frame. So I'll show you that part really quickly. I'm gonna actually put the glue right on here. Let me measure it first and make sure we've got it so it'll fit. All right, that one's a little shorter. Okay, so I'm gonna put this one on the outside because it seems to be cut a little bit shorter. Strip of glue. Get your log in there. We're gonna do that times 3.
Any other groups that fishing in the morning?
I'm gonna go ahead and check for you real fast.
Speaking of fishing, if you wanted to, you could get a little pen and you could draw a picture of yourself in the canoe fishing. There we go. All right, and we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, and we are almost to our last step. Oops. And remember too to infuse your own creativity into this. Put your own creative thoughts into it, and it never has to be exactly as I'm doing it or exactly as the picture shows. You can have fun creating it whatever way you'd like it to be. As I was saying before, whatever you're more comfortable with, you can put the glue right on the stick, or you can put the glue actually on the front of your journal. All right, so we have that part done. Now we're gonna punch out our 2 large green trees. Just be careful with the small parts and make sure they don't rip, like the trunk of the tree and the very top of the tree. There you go. And the way they have it in the design, we've got one of these large ones on either side of the frame. And on this one, I think I would like to have this nice shady pine tree over here by my cabin. So I'm gonna put it up here. And then we've got the small green one. I'm gonna stick that one right here. All right, so there you have it. All finished. And like I said, you would cut that string off and you can put whatever you like on it, personalize it. I just did a little picture of the first week where you guys got to make a tent in there and some notes about what I thought about the tent. And you've got lots of pages for the whole rest of the summer and the rest of your Camp in a Box experience. So I hope you guys have fun making your camp journal, make it your own, and have fun with it.